Hi. This is a really interesting topic for us because we're going to discuss how we rebuilt our company strategy. And back in July 2016, we were basically facing potential disaster, I suppose, as a company. And it kind of forced us to rethink a lot of things. And what we want to look at is we're going to tell that story. We're going to tell that story from 2016, what actually happened. And then we're going to look at kind of the 6 steps that we took to rebuilding ourselves and rebuilding our kind of company process and strategy and everything that we went through. And hopefully it's really helpful. And if it isn't, hopefully it's not too long. This is Andy, who is the founder of Brighttech and MD. And often internally, Andy, you've spoken about the kind of being blinded by the mirage of growth and kind of how we were doing that, kind of being blinded by it, even with this kind of looming storm. Tell me about that and tell me about how this kind of whole thing started.
Yeah, so it's probably best if I kind of recap a little bit from the kind of July 16 date. So we were similar size, I guess, maybe we were kind of like 8 or 9 people. We were in a building kind of behind us here. We had been working for a number of years with a large travel company based up at Gatwick. We'd been doing their mobile app. I think we've done two iterations of it at that point. But they were kind of 60%, I suppose, of our billings at certain points, between 40 and 60% of our billings. So a massive part of what we were doing. They'd also, over a period of time, invested in us. We built very sort of strong relationships with them. So that was kind of like the background. And maybe we'll come to a little bit how that affected and shaped our strategy. But in July of that year, I was just watching Twitter one Friday afternoon and found out that they'd gone into administration. Literally overnight, well not overnight, in the afternoon. The boss had kind of walked in and told the staff, look, we're closed. Clearly a huge shock to all of us. Jumped on the phone, spoke to our contacts. He was working remotely, so it was he did hear, but it was a big shock to him as well, and all the staff there. So yeah, I mean that was the kind of background really for us, kind of reevaluating what we did and what we do. And that's kind of formed the basis of some of the sort of vision and values that we have now.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I remember vividly walking home and getting this call from you and our good friend Mike, who was around at the time, just this call from you of like, we need to jump on a call now and we need to talk about something. And I'm like, what is going on? And it's like, oh man, this big kind of moment. I suppose as anyone can appreciate, this is a pretty, open, quite exposing story to talk about, because most companies wouldn't really want to talk about losing such a big client or talking about facing disaster. Most companies, as you totally expect, like to put out all their best work and don't really want to reflect on things that have gone wrong. And so I suppose kind of what happened after that, like kind of what was the next step?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess the immediate next step was kind of a bit freaking out. I think it was a couple of weeks before many of us, going on holiday and thinking, what on earth are we going to do? You kind of looked at our exposure at that point. Fortunately, financially, we weren't massively exposed, but our pipeline, was probably 50% was them and their projects, and so that was a huge deal to us. I guess also it's important to say that their strategy was really about building big and not really thinking about the profitability of the company. And ultimately that was their downfall, and we kind of started to get into that thinking. I definitely started to get into that thinking about just kind of building. And so not only were we kind of our pipeline dramatically cut, but we, as a staff team, we were bigger than we needed to be because we're thinking grow. So we had those two issues, and so we spent a good couple of months really trying to work out, can we fill this hole? What's our plan? And ultimately we had to let some really good people go, and that was hard and unpleasant experience for everyone. We're still on good terms with all those guys, and they've gone on to bigger and better things, so that's amazing. So in the short term, we had to make some sort of dramatic changes, but there's some other things that were kind of more sort of fundamental and long lasting that we can look at.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think we basically came up with kind of 6 steps to a strategy. Some of those we came up with at the time. They were kind of things that was like, yeah, we're really going to go for this. And some of them are ways that we're able to, I suppose, articulate it now and verbalise it now. At the time, there were things that happened, really well, but we wouldn't have said, we wouldn't have been able to give it a name or anything like that.
Yeah.
So the first one basically we've called is deciding to be transparent. And that was our kind of first step. So talk me through that one.
Well, interestingly, I think this actually started to come about maybe a few months before this point. I think we had started to think actually growth is not the only goal. Profitability is really important, and so we'd started to look and go, actually, we're not as profitable as we should be. We're very, very busy, running around being very busy, but actually it's not kind of turning into profitability. And what's the issue there? So we had started to look at that, and this is kind of where this point started. So we'd essentially I started doing a quarterly update to the staff team that would include kind of a level of financial figures. And that was the main financial figure that we looked at then, and we still look at now, is our profitability on a quarterly basis at that point. And the figures that kind of feed into that. So for us, as an agency, that's like billable percentage and average day rate. And so we started to look at those in advance. We started to talk about in terms of tuning the engine, the engine of Brightech. How can we tune this, the company, to make it more profitable? Now, when that moment hit and we started freaking out, actually this transparency point became even more important, and we changed it to like a monthly update, and we looked every month at these figures, and so the whole team had an insight into where we were at, and at that point the losses that we were making on a month basis. So that meant that everyone had a kind of accountability, everyone had a buy-in, an understanding of actually this is really important to us, and that's continued, and it's still something that the team are bought into and understand. But it also meant that when we made the hard decisions of letting people go, there was a kind of like, actually, I understand this decision. We can't, as a company, continue to not be profitable. And there's only so long a small company like us can make losses for. So that was really helpful when we came to these really hard decisions.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, I remember just how helpful it was, kind of just for being able to dispel any kind of rumours as well. Like, no one had any kind of speculation on anything. They were just able to know it straight away, knew that it would be brought to them as information. They weren't going to kind of be speculating on it, waiting for Andy to say something. No, it was just going to be brought straight to them, and they were going to find it out as soon as anyone else found it out. That was so useful.
Yeah.
The second kind of strategic point is that we initially at least focused on our existing clients, and we have lots of really, really great clients, but at the time it was like, okay, let's focus on these. Talk me through that.
Yeah, I think we had been struggling to do outbound marketing. We'll come to that in a second, but we felt like the best opportunity to build our sort of pipeline out again, which had been obviously dramatically reduced, was actually to work with our existing clients where we've already got really strong relationships and there's already trusting relationship, and they already understand the value of what we do, and go to them and say, what other work could we do for you? This project here, If you did X and Y, then that would make an improvement for your users, or that make an improvement in conversion. So it was a much easier kind of opportunity to sell to people that know you and trust you. So that was the kind of the first step in terms of filling up the pipeline. And again, that is something that is still really important to us actually as a company. Our existing clients are more important than new clients, although obviously we want to win new clients. We do everything we can to support our existing clients, everything we can to work with them on other projects. We understand their brand, we understand their technical back end or API, whatever it is. So they're very keen for us to work often on other projects with them. So that's why we went back and said, okay, look, with the pipeline, let's start with existing clients and see what we can do there.
Yeah, definitely. And the fruit of that is still going on. Right?
Yeah,
like the
absolutely.
fruit is that years on, we don't really lose clients. they stay with us. We have amazing relationships with them where we're able to be really open and candid, and partly that started from that kind of that season. As you mentioned a moment ago, we abandoned outbound as a company. So our kind of business development, our going out there, marketing, we basically got rid of that and most of that. Talk me through like what that looked like and why we did that.
Yeah, so I guess like lots of companies similar to ourselves, we had a lot of outbound kind of activity. So we've used agencies to kind of go out and speak to people on the phone or contact via LinkedIn. For a period of time, we had a business development manager whose job it was to do that, go to events, look at particular sectors that might be relevant to us and go and try and push us into those areas, I suppose. Reality was that although we had a lot of activity, we had very little fruit from it. I'm not sure I could think of a single project that actually came about that way. And it's a very expensive and time-consuming activity. So when we looked at it, we thought, well, actually, this isn't reaping the rewards that we need from it. And it's costing us a lot of money. So we decided to kind of knock that on its head and really concentrate on being attractive to people looking in. So when someone decides, hey, I want to spend X amount of money on a native mobile application, which is a significant investment, when they have already made that decision, they go and look around, they find us, or they've already heard about us in some other kind of capacity, rather than trying to hit someone just as they've made a decision and say, hey, you should think about us, kind of flipping it around so that they find us, and our credibility is really high for them.
Yeah, cool. So what are the kind of specific ways that we achieve that, I suppose?
So we've always been a company that wants to be influential, not necessarily at scale, but within our industry, locally, within the development community, we want to be a company that is putting lots of content out there for people to find. And so we do a lot of blogging within the team here, and so it's probably once a week, maybe more, that we have a technical blog post or post about how we do something or why we do something. So that is all helpful in terms of kind of SEO, but it's also helpful for building our reputation and for people sort of hearing about us. We would also get involved in events where we can, again, kind of locally or externally within the kind of development scene, to really kind of showcase what we do and show that actually we know what we're talking about.
That's cool. So the last two strategies, not the last two, sorry, the next two strategies are basically based on two books that have been hugely influential to us. So one is Oversubscribed by Daniel Priestley, and the second one is Small Giants by Bo Burlingham. And they've both been really huge for us, and I think we would recommend any kind of small agency, especially, but I suppose anyone in business really, to read these two books. So if we start with the first one, kind of the whole oversubscribed model, what did that?
Yes, again, this kind of hit us at the similar sort of period to when we were kind of looking at, what does Brighter exist for? Why do we exist? And so it's really a concept of again, turning the kind of sales pitch around so that it's not us going out, but actually our reputation is so strong that people want to work with us, and we get the opportunity to choose who we work with. So we've kind of long established that we want long-term trusting relationships with our clients. And actually in that period of time where we're kind of sort of scrapping around trying to figure out what we're doing, it became obvious that it'd be really easy, in fact we did, take on clients that would not necessarily be long-term and would certainly not have that kind of mutual trusting relationship. So we knew in advance actually this project's going to be really hard, or this relationship is going to be really hard to manage, and yet we kind of felt like we had to take it on. And we didn't want to be in that position again. We wanted to be in a position where we could say, actually, we've got these two opportunities. This one here, the relationship looks really good. There's kind of mutual trust. We've got similar cultures as a company. We would take that one over and above this one here that's perhaps on paper kind of more financially appealing, but we can see that the relationship is going to struggle over a period of time. And so we want to be in that position, and oversubscribed, it talks a lot about that and kind of strategies to doing that, and a lot of the strategies that we've just spoken about in terms of like blogging, getting content out there, going to events, all this kind of stuff, raising your profile and making it that people are looking in on you rather than you going out, is kind of a lot of what oversubscribed talks about.
Oh, brilliant. So the second book that really influenced us is called Small Giants, as we said earlier, and it's been massive for us, and in some ways it does what it says on the tin, but it's really kind of informed how we look at ourselves as a company and what we want to do. And talk me through how helpful that's been for us.
I can't specifically remember when I was listening to this book, but certainly around that period I started to kind of really try and reevaluate what we were doing as a company. I think when you have such a kind of important moment in life or within the company, you really have to kind of look at why you're doing something and how you're doing it. And so around that period I was kind of looking at other companies that had started similar sort of time period to us, and they were growing sort of significantly, 40 or 50 people, and also constantly being, going to events or just meeting up with friends or whatever, and people would say, how big is your company? How much have you grown in the last year? And there's this kind of constant kind of pressure, I suppose, to grow numerically. And I started to think, should that be our story? Should our story be that we just grow numerically, financially? Is that what every company should aspire to? And this kind of book, Small Giants, came along at that moment, and really is kind of stories of companies that have chosen not to numerically grow. They've specifically made a decision that actually for whatever kind of reasons and parameters, actually numerical growth is not the kind of primary goal for them. And actually that has become important for us. Actually, numerical growth is not the primary goal. It's kind of it's somewhat secondary. Maybe further down the line than that, it's kind of a repercussion of us. Now we look at our business and we say we want to do a great job for our existing clients. And yes, we do want to grow. That's important because it's important that we all have new challenges. It's important that we take on new clients. But numerical growth is a kind of is a repercussion of that. It's not the end goal. So for us, that's meant that we've said actually we're going to limit the number of new clients we take on. So a maximum of one client per quarter. And actually over the last 18 months or so, it's been a number less than that, because we want to do an excellent job, and because numerical growth isn't the end goal. Actually producing a great company that has great culture, which people really enjoy working in, and clients that fit well with us, have trusting relationships, and equally enjoy working with us, and we do a great job for them. They're much more important than numerical or financial growth. So that book kind of helped to kind of clarify that point for us.
Yeah, totally. That's really cool. And the sixth step is that we rebuilt our process, so our internal process. Kind of, I think it threw up a lot of what was good and bad and inefficient and efficient, and all that kind of stuff. What were the kind of main things that we did there?
Yeah, so I guess this is the area that had the biggest kind of financial kind of implication for us. So we were doing, up until that point, we were doing a lot of fixed price projects. We were doing a lot of projects where we'd be like, well, if we do this bit at a lower price, then we might win something bigger in the future. And basically just cast all of that off and said, look, we are only agile, we're only time and materials. Yes, we will take a project on that's maybe slightly outside of what we normally do in order to win something bigger, but financially we have to make that work. Yeah. We have to be profitable month by month by month. And so we're not willing to kind of take a financial hit in order to kind of take a punt or have a risk. That's something else bigger might come along. They're the kind of the biggest financial changes that we made to our process.
Nice. I think just to recap those kind of 6 steps. So kind of number 1 was being open and transparent with our team and kind of exposing to them what was happening so that they could really buy into it and be part of that. Number 2 it was focusing on our clients and I suppose our existing clients initially, kind of making sure that they were, I suppose, just the focus of our time and efforts, and knowing that long-term relationships were really going to pay off for us, and that's where we kind of put our energy, our kind of efforts. Number 3 was that we ditched outbound. We put a lot more effort into content marketing and how we influence and how we put out good material so that when people want to find an agency like us, they can really easily, and that was massively key. Number 4 was becoming oversubscribed and taking that book and taking all the kind of practical steps of that and following that through. Number 5 was small giants, which I think is probably I suppose one of the most crucial things for us, because it's actually given us a focus, I suppose, as a company, as this is the kind of company that we want to be, and probably that's one of the biggest things, rather than just chasing constantly this kind of, I don't know, kind of pipe dream of, we'll be really big, mirage. And they'll be like, exactly that mirage, this kind of 200 people like developers, and it's busy and there's lots happening, so it must be a good company, right? Actually, there's so much more to that, and there's so much more to our kind of lives than just being at work. And number 6 was looking internally and at our contracts, and actually practically rebuilding some of those things. And I suppose if we can just touch on what I suppose the outcome of all that has been. So we're a little way on from that now. This happened as we said at the beginning in July 2016. We're a significant way on from that. And what's the outcome been? What we like now?
Yeah, I mean, the most obvious and important thing is that we're still here. So over a period of 6 months, I suppose, maybe longer, we financially rebuilt. We were making significant month-by-month losses, and over a period of, I think, probably 6 months, we brought it back to the point where we were being profitable, and then we've sort of continued to grow financially, which is important for a company. You have to make money in order to do something great. As a team, there's 11 of us. We've been working together now for a number of years, a lot of us, and so that's great. We're doing some really excellent work with clients again that have been we've been with they've been with us for kind of somewhere between 3 and 6 years, most of them. And we look to kind of when we are trying to find a new client, we're really clear we want clients that we have mutual trust and is going to be long term. So this isn't just a single marketing app that just gets thrown out there and we never see it again. This is actually projects that have got real value that can be built over a period of time, and the relationship with that company can be built over time. So so we're continuing to build a kind of great company with really excellent values, really excellent process, and we look to do that for the long term.
Yeah. Amazing. I suppose a little while after that, we changed our company mission, didn't we, to be a company that people love working with and that our employees love working for, and that we really our clients want to love working with us, and we want people to love working here. And that was kind of I suppose kind of the big outcome of all of that was actually we have a new mission, we have a new focus. That's what we're doing. We hope that was really helpful. We hope that was interesting. I think if you're in a similar position, or you want to reach out and ask, especially Andy, kind of his thoughts on this whole subject, like we're open. Like part of our thing is being transparent. We want to talk about this subject. We know that often it's hard to find people that will talk about these kind of struggles and this kind of subject, and so. We'll put our Twitter links probably on the video and below. Do reach out. We would love to engage with you. And thank you very much.